And welcome to the channel. This is MattCam89, and I have been challenged by no other than the Nerd Life to answer 10 video game questions and just give my honest opinions about each of these questions. If you're not familiar with the Nerd Life, he's got an awesome YouTube channel, and he does very similar content to what I do as far as unboxing. He also plays a lot of retro games and will upload that footage of the games that he's playing. Very, very cool guy. I love interacting with him. He always comments on my videos, always has something cool to say. The other thing, too, is he also does a different subscription service than what I do. So he does video games monthly, but he also does a higher tiered uh, service. I think it's called GG Retro. So it's always exciting to see what he gets in those boxes as well, because they do tend to be complete in box and things like that. So really, really cool channel. If you're not already subscribed to him, make sure you go check out his channel. I'll have the link in the description box below so that you can give the Nerd Life some love. Very, very cool guy. So the first question is, what kind of games do you play? And that's really going to be dependent on what type of systems I'm going to be playing on. So, modern systems or more modern type consoles, I love shooters. I love third-person shooters. That's my favorite genre of games. That's what I enjoy. A lot of times when I play games, I want to turn off my brain. I just want to shoot stuff. I've been accused in the past of being too American in my taste, but that's what I like. I like shooters. If I am playing a more retro console, like the Sega Genesis or the Super Nintendo, I prefer beat 'em ups or action platformers where there's going to be some combat involved, not necessarily just, jumping from platform to platform, but there's going to be, like your Contras and things like that. So I'm still stuck in the shooters, but I actually prefer beat 'em ups. That was my favorite genre as a kid, and still my favorite genre for those types of consoles. They were the king of beat 'em ups back in the day. Although they are starting to make a comeback now, so that's pretty cool. If I am playing PC, my style of game also is different. I tend to do more RTS games on the PC or simulation type games. So your Civilizations, your Stellaris type games. I just like those type of games for PC. They play better on a mouse and keyboard. I just prefer it on that on a mouse and keyboard as opposed to a controller. All right, and how much time do you spend playing games? So I definitely do make time for playing games, but like many other YouTubers have explained, you know, there's life. We got bills to pay, we got mouths to feed. I'm married. I have 3 children myself. I have 2 jobs, go to church. So there are a lot of responsibilities that need to get done. And as much as I'd love to just sit around and play games, there are more important things than just playing games. But I do a fair amount of gaming. At least every other night, I get to play a game. I would say more so now that there's a greater focus on YouTube, um, because I'm live streaming more. So in that aspect, I am playing more. I don't think it's a crazy amount. It's just because of life. And I know Papa Bear Gaming, he mentioned about one day we're all going to be able to retire. I really hope that that's true, that we can all retire as gamers at one point uh, in our lives, and we can just enjoy the massive backlog that we have. Because if I'm honest with you, I've got games that are still in their shrink wrap, and I probably bought them a year, 2 years, maybe more, and I've never played them. Uh, Just good deals, buy two get one free, and your library just grows and grows and grows, and unfortunately, your time uh, just can't keep up with the amount of games that you have. So I'm also looking forward to that day. Hopefully that we can retire Papa Bear Gaming and we can enjoy all the games whenever we want to. Do you think games can be educational? Yeah, absolutely. Certain games. I'm not going to sit here and say that every game is educational because, if I'm playing Gears of War, there's really not much education that I'm getting other than turning off my brain and shooting the enemies, the locusts. But there are a lot of games out there that do teach you and then also require a lot of critical thinking. Now, yeah, there may be some strategy to a Gears of War and things of that, but I'm talking more about there is a plethora of simulation games that have come out in the past couple years, and on various things from cooking to lawn care to firefighting to police work, and a lot of these games will actually teach you how to do the job, or in a game way. So I do think games can be very educational in that regard. I do feel like there's less of the type of educational games that I had as a kid, growing up with a Sega Genesis and a Super Nintendo. I feel like there was more like a Sesame Street, ABCs, your one, two, threes, those type of games where I actually played and I learned from them. Maybe they exist, but they're just not advertised as much nowadays, or kids are they're not really playing those types of games. I'm not really sure, but it's not like I load up PSN or Xbox Live and I see, oh, Sesame Street, count with me. um, so it's a different type of educational games that are coming out, I believe. Number four, what don't you like about games? So I don't like games that are strictly live service, multiplayer only. I'm not necessarily talking about MMOs because that's the type of genre, but there are a lot of games where there's no more single player. It's just heavily multiplayer focused, and it's like, what's going to happen once the player base is gone? You can no longer play those games. Now, I like how in Battlefront they added bots, so you could actually still play that game after the servers are gone and the people have stopped playing, and you could actually play against bots. At least there's some replayability there, and I think that every game should have an offline mode. Um, I was actually hearing about the European Union, and as much as I'm not into too much regulation, they were talking about making it a requirement that every video game have an offline mode. Um, and honestly, I think that should be there should be if you're buying a battlefield game, a Battlefront game, there should be an option of an offline mode where you can play against bots. Uh, that way, 10, 15, 20 years from now, you don't have a disc that's worth nothing. Um, there are some games in my collection that they are no longer playable. DC Universe Online for the PlayStation 3, you can't play it anymore. Mag for the PlayStation 3, you can't play it anymore. So that kind of stuff, the live service stuff, and things in which a game changes so much that the original campaign is gone. I believe that is something with the original Destiny. So when you play that game when it launched, from what I understand, there's content that is no longer available that you can't play anymore. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, um, but that's just what I remember hearing about Destiny. So kind of stuff like that, I don't like. Um, I don't like games that overly preach to me. There are certain things that I don't care to hear about. I want to play games to escape a lot of the realities out there. And if it's something that really adds to the story or is or really around that game, the story of the game, okay. But I feel like that there are a lot of games that are too preachy nowadays. That there's a big reason why I've gone back to that PS3, Xbox 360 era, and consoles before it. I want to play games to have fun and to not be preached at. All right, number five. How much do you spend on games? So I do have two subscription boxes. I do love to get media, and I do video games monthly. So there is a fair expense. However, I am constantly selling stuff on eBay and things like that, so it does kind of pay for itself. And I ended up selling a while back a good portion of my collection to help fund the subscription services. And then here or there, I'll buy a game if it's on sale. Extremely rare that I buy a game that's a brand new full price. Um, However, I did do that recently. I did pre-order Space Marine 2 because I've been waiting for that game for 12 years. So there are some rare exceptions to that. But I'm not, you know, raising a family on one income. Um, it can be very challenging in this day and age. So I don't really have that kind of money that I can just kind of throw out there. So it isn't big dollars. You can see my collection behind me is pretty small, and it's probably never going to be big, extremely big where I'm going to fill up this entire room. It's just probably never going to get there. Um, just because of space and because I don't have that kind of money. And I don't know if I would want that anyways. I tend to go for games that I think I am going to play as opposed to just collecting. And I always put it out there. I'm not against collectors and people that want full sets. I think that's awesome. If you got the income and it's not going to hurt you and your family, go for it. You work hard for your money and you spend it the way that you want to because you ain't going to take it with you anyway. So, all right. So let's get back into the questions. Number six. What is your favorite game console? So nowadays, my favorite game console is the PS3. It's the system I collect the most for, that I'm actively looking for, and probably the console that I play the most, other than a PS5. Uh, but it has really become my favorite console. Just amazing games. You don't have massive loading times like you did with the PS4 and the Xbox One. Oh, that generation for loading times was horrible. I'm so glad that they fixed that with the new consoles. Um, but yeah, PS3 and even the Xbox 360, I really enjoyed. Either console that you go with, it's fantastic. And in my opinion, that's the peak gaming right there. It's the best memories that I have. Um, And I like all the other consoles before it. I love the Sega Genesis. That would probably be my pick for a retro console. Then the Super Nintendo. After that, the N64, I have great memories of. And the PlayStation 2 was really when I first got into online gaming and was in clans and things like that. So I did have a lot of fun with that. But that PS3, Xbox 360 era, I mean, there was just something about that era where you're lining up for midnight release, Call of Duty Black Ops. You get home, all your buddies hop online. I had family, my brother, my uncle, um, my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. We would all get on Call of Duty Black Ops, and we would fill up sometimes an entire server, just our crew. And most of the time, we would be one team. So it would be us, our entire crew, all on Xbox Live. We had the mics in the party, and it was just such a great time. Good memories, good time with friends and family, and we would rock the servers. We were pretty good, and everybody had their own skill that they were good at. You know, so it was a good time, and even today we still talk about it, and you know, we'll tell my wife, oh, you remember when you used to be a camper all the time? Because she would. And my uncle, too, he loved his claymores. Then we had other friends where they were the lone wolves, they were the Rambos and the Arnold Schwarzeneggers and would run away from the team and get a ton of kills that way. But it was just a good time. Anyways, I'm rambling too much. So I'm going to go PS3 slash Xbox 360 favorite console, best era of gaming, in my opinion. I know a lot of people will disagree with me, but it's just to me, it's the most fun. It was then, it's still fun now. All right. Number seven. What is your favorite video game? It's really tough. I've had a couple of different favorite video games. There are a couple um, that I actually play yearly. So if I had to pick one game, I really can't pick one game. So what I'll do is I'll tell you a couple and explain a little bit. From modern era, PS5, PS4, my favorite game is going to be Ghost of Tsushima. Absolutely love the time period, just the Japanese history. I love the story. The game is so good that every side quest is amazing. I can't recall a side quest that I didn't enjoy doing. It's just talk about a game that is, in my opinion, that's a 10 right there. It's an amazing game. I love it. Ghost of Tsushima. I'm excited for the next one, but at the same time, I'm tempering my expectations of what that game is going to be like because I just don't want it to be ruined. The first one was so good, and I just really hope that they don't allow certain influences to get into the game and ruin it. I'll leave it at that. Ghost of Tsushima would be my modern pick for my favorite game. Other than that, as far as retro games go, I'm gonna go with Dino Crisis. This is a PlayStation game that I play yearly. Live stream it. I think I have two videos at least of me live streaming it already, and my channel is fairly new. So Dino Crisis, Ghost of Tsushima. I was a huge fan and still am of Command and Conquer Red Alert 2. That was a game that I would daydream in school about. And I would think about and draw out in my notebook how I was going to get home and build my base. That's how much I was into it. Um, Other honorable mentions I would say would be Resident Evil, the originals, but especially Resident Evil Outbreak would be my favorite one. That is a game that is so far ahead of its time, and I don't understand how Capcom keeps messing it up, but they keep releasing these semi multiplayer Resident Evil games that are just garbage. And the last they did one not that long ago where they touted that it was kind of like a spiritual successor to Outbreak, and again, it was garbage. Absolute garbage. All they have to do is remake this game. Take file one, take file two, put it together, sell it as one package, and remake it as the same game, same scenarios. Put in quality of life improvements and update the graphics. Rebuild the network infrastructure, and there you go. You got a perfect Resident Evil Online game. Capcom, if you see this, make it happen. All right. Number 8, favorite video game movie. I can't really say that I have a favorite video game movie. As somebody who was a big Resident Evil fan back in the day, I was highly disappointed with all of the movies. The first one was okay at best, but not a very good movie, to be honest. I thought it was good at the time because it was Resident Evil, but it's really not that great of a movie. And then they just got worse and worse and worse to whatever it is now. If I had to pick, probably be the original Mortal Kombat movie. It was just fun, cheesy, fun, good time. Love the 90s. That's when they made great movies. 80s, 90s. It was just a good time. That would be my pick or favorite video game movie. Although some of the newer, like the new Super Mario Brothers movie is pretty good. The Sonic movies were surprisingly good as well. I do like them as well. But I just wouldn't categorize them as my favorite. All right, number 9, favorite video game character. If you can look around the room, you can probably see. But if you haven't guessed already, it's going to be Sonic the Hedgehog is my favorite video game character. And to be honest, I really liked the character itself, probably more than the games, to be honest. If that makes sense, if that can possibly make sense. There are a lot of Sonic games I've never actually played, so I am not religious in the fact that every Sonic game that comes out I have to buy it. Although I have quite a few Sonic games, um, but I love the character. I love the design. I love the '90s attitude of the cartoons and just the character overall. And it was my, you know, the game that I got with my Sega Genesis. So there's a lot of nostalgia and love for that character because of that time period and the memories that it brings. So, Sonic the Hedgehog. All right, and the last question, number 10, least favorite game to play. That's a tough one. There are a couple of genres that I'm not big fans of. Mainly simulation racing. Although I did buy Gran Turismo 7 because I got a VR headset and I really wanted to try that. But even that game is not my cup of tea. I really don't like that style of racing. But I do like racing games. So you give me a Mario Kart, you give me a Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. I like those arcade style games. Um, Other types of games where there is an extreme amount of micromanaging that you have to do, and probably turn-based combat as well. Kind of the mixture of the two. Now there are some turn-based combat games that I don't mind, like Albert Odyssey for the Sega Saturn. I ended up loving that game. I don't understand why, but I did. I enjoyed the story and the artwork, and the turn-based combat didn't bother me. But there are certain games where I feel like there's too much micromanaging that needs to be done. And you'll find that a lot in games where you have companion characters, and there's all sorts of things that you have to equip them with, and special skills that you want to give them, and things like that. And sometimes I don't want to do that. So it's like I want to do that for my character, but I don't want to do that for all my other companions and things like that. It bores me. So I like games like Mass Effect where you have companion characters, but you can set them on auto and they'll do their own abilities. They'll do their own upgrades. So I think the only thing that they don't do is equip better weapons. So you kind of have to do that for them. But I do like that option. I don't like games necessarily where you have to pause and then strategize what you got to do. Um, if I'm playing Mass Effect, be smart enough to know how to do your own abilities and things like that. Although they did do like hotkeys on the controller that make it a little better. So those kind of games I'm not a big fan of. Fighting games with certain caveats. Um, the only fighting game I really play and enjoy playing is Mortal Kombat. Other fighting games I've tried. I tried getting into games like Soul Calibur and Virtual Fighter, um, Tekken. And especially Street Fighter. I do not like Street Fighter at all. I've tried the old ones. I tried the new ones, and I can't get into it. I suck at them. Maybe that's why I don't enjoy them. And you can make fun of me in the comment section below. That's fine. But I do like Mortal Kombat, and I do like the Injustice fighting games as well, which is basically Mortal Kombat with DC Universe skins. So that would explain why I like, you know, those fighting games because it's essentially Mortal Kombat. So that's really it. Yeah, 10 questions. Thank you, Nerd Life, for challenging me. It was a lot of fun, and it was non-scripted. So sorry if I sounded a little off or kind of messed up my words, but kind of thinking on the fly. Some of these questions. I'm trying to think who I could challenge, and it's kind of hard because there's a lot of people that have already done this. So, drinking games with Josh. If you see this and you haven't been challenged, I'd love to see your responses for these 10 questions. And anybody else that is watching this video, feel free to tag me, and I'll watch the video that you put on as long as you tag me and I know about it. So yeah, those are my 10 questions. As always, happy gaming. God bless. Enjoy. Have a safe and good week.